Every language has its special gift to humanity, and JavaScript, it might be functions. It handles functions a lot differently from the way that other languages handle it. This section is just going to be the basics of functions, but there's a lot more to it. But let's pop into functions. To define a function, this is a common way of defining it. Now you saw how I defined a function here. I gave it a name, and then just said the word function after it. So this right here is an anonymous function. Until I assign it to this name, this function has no name, right? Can you guys think of another language where you can have a function that doesn't have a name? There's not very many languages that have that. Usually you have to give the function a name, not JavaScript. You can have anonymous functions.
In Java, is that what that E is?
E? What E?
Well, you're making buttons. You can make
It may well be. I mean, we'll have to have that question, but I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head. But usually you would name your functions. But in JavaScript, you frequently don't name them. But when you want to give it, you can either assign it to a variable. If I would have wanted to, I could have gone like this, and I could have said function fizzbuzz, and that also would be okay. Both of those syntaxes are fine. But you don't see this notation very often. You have a variable, and the variable is square. And if I was to console log square, what would it console log? If I huh? Yep, exactly. It would console log this string right here. But if I console log what, something that function can evaluate, it actually gives me back the evaluated value of that function. That takes a minute to get your head around what's going on here. It does. It's absolutely, yeah, it makes sense, definitely. So here, if you put the parentheses, then it knows to evaluate the function. If you don't put the parentheses, it's just going to return the value as if it was a property. Function can have multiple parameters, no parameters. If you give, if you specify, if you give the function, the method, too many parameters, it just ignores the other ones. So it's not like other languages where it'll give you an error. Yeah, this is the same as it would be in any language. When you send a value there, and the variable names are local to the function. I think it's useful to take a look at, I'm going to actually comment this out because this is kind of annoying. Too much code. So let's try this. Let's try taking a look at the scope of a variable. So what I have x and y. I'll try a and b. So here I'll say var a gets 4. And I'll create this function f. Now this n is not the same as this n, right? Because it's local to this particular function. So I'm going to have f, and then here I'm going to say var a gets 3. And then I'll say return a plus n. And actually I'll say console log f of a. So what's that going to console log? If a is 4 and I'm passing f of a, that's f of a is going to return, it should show 7. Actually, we could test it right now. So it's 7, right? Now, let's suppose I have var b gets 23. And here I'll say b gets 99, and I'll console log b. What's this gonna do? 23? 23. Let's see. 99. The reason why is because if you don't put var in front of the variable, it's not local.
I thought you forgot the semicolon, so I thought you...
Oh shoot! It ignored that. It knew I screwed up. Yeah, good eye. That's a really good eye. I actually typoed it wrong, but it's still. But watch, it'll still be 99. So yeah, this is. There's a lot of little things you'll be doing your programs and be wondering. Wait a second, I'm doing this right. It's all right, and something's going. You have to like if you have a problem, post it on the discussion board. Post a little snippet out. You're not cheating. You know, there's going to be these little errors. You can send me Canvas messages, but if 2 classes full of JavaScript people start sending me, I'll answer them as fast as I can, but it might be faster to put it on the discussion board and each person helps each other. That's why when you guys are helping each other, that's good because you probably learn it faster and better than waiting for me. I mean, I'm happy to help if I can, but just FYI, a lot of it's not what you'd expect. So yeah, nested scope, same thing as if you keep putting var in front of it, then it'll stay local to the whatever the depth of nesting is that you're doing. Variable visibility. Yeah, the whole concept of functions as values, they call it first-class functions, is important to know. And then you can declare the function the same way, but it'll still be like if I've declared this function f here, I'll declare another function g which is identical in every respect except for I'm going to say g gets function without this. So now I've got a function f and I have a function g, and I'll console log f and g. Just so you can see what it looks like. And they're identical, right? F is named f, and G is named f. No, G is named just f of n. Yeah.
Because you have b equals 89 inside of a function, if we never call that function, that shouldn't actually run, should it?
It treats it as a global variable, so if it hasn't been declared, it'll declare it.
So even if you don't call that function, it'll still declare it?
No, only if you call it.
Okay, that's what
Yeah, I'm sorry. Only if you call it. If you don't actually call a function, then nothing. It's nothing.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
It should ignore
You can define all the functions you want. You never call them. Nothing's going to happen. Yeah, that's a good point. So this one here is a named function. This one is just G is. This is what F holds, and this is what G holds. Where were we? Oh, okay. The call stack is something that's true of any programming environment. You call a function, that function calls another function, that function calls another function, and eventually, you can blow the stack because you've called too many functions. But whatever function is the most recent one called, that's the ones at the top of the stack that gets executed. So this is just explaining the concept of what variables are active at what time. I think that's pretty straightforward. So now this one is, how about this one? What do you think will happen if I try to run this? Here I've got a function. I have the function chicken calls the function egg. And I have the function egg calls the function chicken. And the console log. It should blow the stack. It should be an infinite recursion, right?
Yeah.
So,
Stack Overflow.
hey man, I'll blow my browser. Who cares?
Good. You blow up your browser.
Chicken. Oops. Egg. Console log chicken. I hope I'm not making a mistake by doing this. Oh, good. Maximum call stack size exceeded. Blew the stack. Luckily, if I
What is the maximum amount of calls for a stack?
depends on the RAM. How much RAM's allocated for your stack, right? I mean, who knows? That's a good question, but I think it's different for every computer. Yep.
If in function g, like reassign what g is equal to, why does the console print out the value in function f rather than g if g comes low?
One more time.
I thought you said, but if you declare a variable like in line 4, then we declare the same variable in line 10, so line 10 isn't the value. So in this case, if you put a different value in for b in function g, if they're both not 99, so if you make it different, why does the value in f print on the console rather than the value in g?
For this function, we're declaring it, right?
Yeah.
And for this function, we're declaring it. But in this function, we actually ran the function. We never actually ran the function g. We never invoked it. We just displayed what its contents were. We just described its definition. So we never invoked function g. Now, if you would have said g of something, right, with parentheses, that is a very important question you just asked, because a lot of times people will, and they'll forget to put the parentheses. And then they haven't invoked it. But they got they got an answer back from the computer, or you at least didn't get an error. What the hell's going on? When I type a function identifier, I don't want the contents of the function description. I want the value that the function is supposed to be evaluating. But I haven't given G any value to evaluate. So it assumes you want the contents of it. And let's face it, people who are professional JavaScript programmers, that's what they would be wanting. Because there's a lot of times when that's what you do want. You can actually go in, change those values. You can modify, JavaScript can modify itself, right? So we can make all these functions, and then we can make one function, and we can change it 100 times to do different things. And so yeah, you want to do this, yeah.
If you have a function where you're not passing like a number or something to it, how would you call that?
Just nothing. Just same as you would in C++. Just open close parentheses. No parameters. Yeah.
Okay.
No. Some things are the same. I shouldn't have said that that's totally different. There's actually quite a lot of similarities, but there's some really fundamental differences too. Okay, let's pop back over here. Optional arguments. Here, what do you think is going to happen if I do that?
Only the first one will run.
Typically, that's what will happen is if you only have so hello. So it just ignores all the extra parameters that are sent. Yes, sir? Neil?
Is that determined by the browser? Like some browsers would do that differently?
Boy, on the particular alert, I would hope that this one, of all of them, are standard. But Neil, I don't know. I mean, I'm afraid to give a categorical answer because what I say on Thursday might not be true on Friday.
Yeah.
If you're in the middle of developing something, best thing I can tell you is pop open a console window, do it. It works for today. Hopefully it'll work by the time I grade it because, really, things change a lot in web. And there's major upgrades and stuff. But I sure hope the ones, we're doing the bare bones. We're doing the basic ones. The stuff in eloquent JavaScript is not, pushing the envelope. It's just pretty much mainstream. So, but I'm gun shy. All right. Now this is something that maybe we should do a pause on that one because closure is very important. Let's take a pause on closure and we'll start on that next.